floor.
Yeah, let me address that if I can. If the board were to choose to abolish the police department and merge with the sheriff, they would first have to adopt a local law to that effect, which obviously requires a public hearing. So you're looking at least 2 weeks out before you have a public hearing, probably a month before the local law becomes effective, and the local law would also set a referendum. The referendum doesn't have to be on election day. The referendum can be set at any reasonable time. It could be December, January, whenever you're ready to have it. So there's no deadline in terms of a referendum. But the process would have to start with a local law by the town board, if you so chose to do that, would be to abolish the police department and merge with the sheriff. So until you do that, nothing else is going to happen. I mean, other than the discussions here. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Jim?
Right. It's been indicated before that it would be on, or perhaps could be on the November election, or the November ballot.
Yeah, one of the problems with November is that if you merge with the sheriff's department, the county legislature has to create the positions that would be absorbed by the sheriff's department. Our police officers would be absorbed by the sheriff's department. They have to create those positions before we have the referendum. When it was done in Clay, remember, Clay did it, I think, in June or July.
Right.
So all that stuff was done before. To get on the county leg's agenda, you'd have to attend a committee meeting in September to get on the October agenda. I don't even know if we're time-wise to get on the September agenda. So I think you're looking at the earliest would be the first meeting in November for the county legislature. So again, realistically, there's no way to get it done by November because of those time limits.
I guess my only comment, I've talked to some of the residents stopped me and asked me, their biggest concern and problem is that if you look at the documents that are out there, each one has different figures. We had a list from Warren Darby. They gave numbers. We have the one from Chief Snell. We have different ones out there, and they're saying as I look at one, there's a different set of figures for each person depending on, very frankly, who wants what. If I want to keep my job, I'm going to give you my figures. Somebody else is going to say, well, if we want to help the town, here's better figures. And that's the biggest concern that I've heard from the residents that have asked me about that. And I agree with like Judy said and like the attorney said, until we get better information, better numbers, better figures, it would be awful hard to make any type of decision at this point.
And Chief Snell's numbers are a direct reflection of the information that was provided by Warren Darby in the proposed contract scenarios that he set forth, and so there's no discrepancy on that. The numbers that were used by the chief are a direct reflection of the numbers provided by the county relative to the cost it would cost for a 13-officer scenario. And the county even provided further information as to 20-officer scenario, or increase from a 13 officers up to a 20-officer scenario, and then you're looking obviously for more funds. I think those are the exact numbers that were used in the chief's report. Another point, since we're talking about county figures, is one thing that the committee did a good job of bringing up is currently you pay town of Cicero pays $1.5 million to the Onondaga County Sheriff's Office.
2.4.
2.4 million of our tax dollars goes to the Onondaga County Sheriff to supplement other townships that do not have local police departments. So where our tax dollars are going towards supplementing other departments within our county. That's the number that you really should be looking at and saying to the Onondaga County Sheriff, for 2.4 million, what are we receiving?
Yeah.
Why are we paying that much? Why aren't we paying $1.5 million? Because we're supplementing other townships. So that number really should be decreased. Those money should go back to the town we could have a lot of extra money.
And in that respect, Jim, did you, while you were on this committee, ask anybody about that?
About what?
Reducing our county tax because of
We-
our supplementing other
It's
towns?
not going to happen.
That's a big point of contention. We did not approach the sheriff about that issue. It was brought up. Many of the, I think all of the committee members took a look at that number and were floored and quite frankly upset of looking at 2.4 million, what are we getting? The committee put the numbers together. Their role or their job wasn't to go to the sheriff and say, what are we receiving? Why are you taking this amount from us? It was more or less, their role was to gather the facts and figures, which they did. And they did homework, and that would have been Deborah's job. And she researched that, and she wants us to talk on that particular issue, she can. But that was, you know, what we want to do with that information, that's up to the town board.
Would you like to know where the 2.47 comes from?
Sure. If the supervisor wants to.
Just gone.
I'll explain it. The way that the taxes are apportioned among the towns is based on the Onondaga County budget and the property assessment. And they use the equalizer rate so that we're all equal in this. So Cicero has about a little over 7% of the property value located in our town. So we pay a little over 7% of the entire county budget. Not only can we ask, what do we get from these?
Budget.
I beg your pardon?
Why not just the police budget? Ma'am,
No.
wait till public input, please. Thank you.
So not only should we be asking the Onondaga County sheriffs what do we get for that amount of money, but we should be asking all the other departments that we pay into. So it is based on property assessment. So if Brad would just lower all of our property assessments, we'd pay a lot less.
You know that's going to happen.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity to let me explain.
And Deborah did a lot of work and calls and reports to the committee to gather that information.
It's also obvious that in other towns, again, as Deborah explained, based on the values of the town and how many properties are in the town as to how much of county tax you will pay. And obviously, we've been paying this for a long time. And to ask, which was my first statement, is, well then, why can't we have our $2.4 million back as long as we don't need the sheriffs? And that is a joke.
Yeah.
Because you don't get money back from the county. So, appreciating, you know, that part of it, it's almost impossible.
Or perhaps supplementing, if the town of Cicero has a police force or other departments within the Onondaga County where it keep police forces, why don't we get a break on the county tax bill
Based on property values.
based on property values?
That's all.
Right.
Good try.
So, my point is this: it's an issue that's hanging out there. Our residents are concerned about it. We have to make decisions on this. It's a cloud over our department. We just can't let it linger, and that's why I asked for this to be placed on the agenda, so we can keep the ball rolling, so we can get an idea where this is going. So for the residents, for our police department, and the community as a whole. Rather than letting it linger.
That said, no more discussion. Do you want to make a motion? Or resolution? Jim?
I don't think at this time we want to do that. Like I say, we've already mentioned it, we're waiting for further information. And I just think it's something we need to table, let the residents speak that are here, let's find out what their feelings are, and let's go on from that point.
That's what I was looking for.
You got it. That's a motion if you want it.
I'll second.
We don't need a motion.
So
All right.
we'll just adjourn this discussion until the next town board meeting, at which time we will have further information and be able to go
No,
forward.
Madam Supervisor, I would like to have the residents that are here tonight that want to say something.
We will have it at public input.
Yeah, but if you do that, it's going to open it up to other issues. I think we need to address this issue as under the discussion, as a public input first item.
Well, let's act on, all right, we're adjourning that, and that would be the next item anyway. We can open it up to those who would like to discuss that. But I believe we have other issues here too as well.
What I'm trying to say is we've been discussing the police issue. Under the public input, I think those that are here to speak on the police issue should be first, and then we'll cover anyone else that has something, so we're not jumping back and forth.
Good point.
Next on the agenda, because we are going to adjourn any further discussion on the police study. At this time, I would open it up to public input, and any of those who would like to speak, feel free to come to the microphone.